Hey, my name is Mark Schultz. Broken and Beautiful. You know, I wrote that with Matthew West, a friend of mine who's also a singer, songwriter. And we'd had lunch earlier that day, and we thought, hey, let's write a song that's upbeat but has a lot of heart to it. And so he kind of came up with a melody. We're writing in a chapel where I write all my songs in Nashville. And he kind of came up with this melody and for the verse, and I just started playing the piano, and I started singing, broken and beautiful. And he's like, man, what did you just say? And I said, I've got no idea. What did I just say? And he said, I think you said broken and beautiful. I probably didn't. That's what he just heard. But that became it was just a moment that you never get back. And so it wasn't even until the next day I thought, that's a good song. I was singing it to myself in the mirror when I was brushing my teeth, and man, tears started rolling down my face, and I just went, you know what? That was really great. You know, sometimes God just drops one in your lap, and you're lucky if you catch it. So that was the case with that song. And you know what? I was a youth director at a church in Nashville for like 10 years, and there's a chapel there that I would always go into and sit down and start. It's like write songs about what was going on in the life of the youth group, what was going on with parents, what was going on in my life, what God was showing me through all that. So I just started writing songs, and every time I go back there, even though my wife is a doctor and she's in residency in Chapel Hill, North Carolina, we live in Chapel Hill now, I still fly back just so I can get back in that chapel. It's like putting on a comfortable pair of shoes, you know, and so I still write all my songs there. And I think there's just something about writing songs in a room that's been prayed in, that's been that people have come together in to worship God, as opposed to writing them in my living room, you know, where my TV is, so, and the couch. So I think that's a special place for me to write songs. I joked earlier about this, about wanting to go, you know, acid rap. But I would say that I really fell in love with writing songs about what I was seeing God do in other people's lives, because there's an element to that really helps people, you know. It's really, really cool. And so I write a lot of story songs, so I love just writing songs about stories, about real life things that people can go, man, if that can happen in that person's life, maybe it can happen in my life too. And so I just love that it's hope-filled, and there's, you know, that people can really get a lot out of it. Nobody's showing up my house and looking through the mirrors with a camera or anything, and don't get any ideas. But you know, for me, the best thing is, and this is what I learned from being a youth director, is if you can't be the same person you are to the kids, you know, when you're helping them, if they would ever see me at any time and say, and that's not the Mark Schultz that I know, that would be hugely disappointing to me. So that was great training for living and just being yourself, and hopefully people would say, you know, he's the same on stage as he is off stage, as he is at home. And so I think that the biggest thing is to stay true to yourself, and you're just always in good shape. This summer, you know, I was adopted when I was 2 weeks old. I always tell people it's the hardest 2 weeks of my life with the paperwork. But I got the best parents in the whole world, and so I really wanted to help kids who hadn't been adopted yet, or orphans waiting to be adopted. So this summer I rode my bike from California, from Los Angeles to New Hampshire. So that's like 3,500 miles, 3,700 miles. We did about 13 concerts along the way, and gave all the money back to the James Fund, which is a Family Christian Stores Foundation, which you know, wanted to give back to back to the orphans that didn't have a home yet. And so we raised about $250,000 for orphans. And so that's been a really good, and that was a great experience for me, you know, getting to do something, and I felt really connected to it. And so that wasn't necessarily just for my community, but was for all the, you know, really built up a lot of community believers across the country, to raise them up to give money to really help something that's a pretty direct call from God to be a part of. Oh, I think you should train, you know, and I took my bike out on a tour, and I'd ride for a couple hours during the day, but man, there's really nothing you can do to prepare for getting on your bike and riding 100 miles every day across the country. You just kind of got to do it. You know what I mean? And just get better as you go. And so, and I did, I started was doing 100 miles, and then by the end I could do 200 miles in one day, which I'll never do again. But now I can tell my wife, listen, I can eat whatever I want to because I rode my bike across the country. From here on out till I'm 95, I'm going to be eating whatever I want to. I'm not getting away with it, but that's what I'm telling her. When he saw his wife. You know what? I think what I learned from my bike trip experience, we would have guest riders that would come out and ride with us. And not all Christian people, but they're avid bike riders that were excited about bikes, and they heard I was coming through, and they're like, man, there's a lot of media and stuff, so that's exciting. So they would come out and ride, and they would say, now, you're riding for what reason? I say, well, we're, helping orphans and widows and raising money for them. Well, that's kind of cool. Why that? Well, I was adopted and da-da-da. And you really get people who otherwise would not be interested in it because you're going out to do something, And what was really cool was other kids on these trips, on my trip across the country, like a third grade class would bake cookies and do a sell cookies in their hometown, and then send the check in, and we'd send it on to the gym stuff. So what's really, really cool, all the spin-offs that happened from my trip, they said, well, man, if he can do that, then I can do this. And like my trip involved a lot of non-believers that were coming in and going, this is kind of interesting. And they would spin off, and another guy came and rode his bike. He was from a radio station in Florida. And I said, man, you ought to do your own bike ride across maybe Florida or something and raise money. And so they did this year. I went and rode it, and it was for the homeless. And they had a bunch of folks that weren't even Christians, so just like bikes, and they came out and were able to influence them. It's not so much, when Christians go, I'm a Christian, and as long as non-Christians come into my house or the church I go to, well, I'll hang out with them. But a lot of times it's to find out, for me, biking, I've got a lot of biking with people that aren't Christians, and so we'll go do that, So go find what your passions are, and it'll lead you to people. And then it's an open opportunity to talk about God. So I would say breaking out of the comfort zone and finding your passion, and then just go do that. I like football, college football, but not as much as my wife does. My wife loves college football, and she loves pro football too. And after she watches that all day, she wants to go out in the backyard and throw the football around. I know, man. I can't get any better than that. So, and basketball, I grew up in a small town where I played basketball and ran track and played baseball and played football because we didn't have many people in our school, so you had to do all that kind of stuff. And so I like sports a lot. I really do like to follow them. You know what it would be? Probably something we've already talked about is do what you do. Stay true to yourself. A lot of people try to be whatever's the cool thing, hip thing going on at the time. And, man, it never works. It works like for a second. And but I think for longevity in a career, you've got to do what you do and be who you are. And it's all about, to me, it's all natural. If you are who you are on stage as you are off stage, and you live true to yourself, and you're who God has gifted you to be in a certain thing, don't chase after the big exciting thing because it comes and goes, but hopefully the folks that stay around long enough know who they are, know what they do, and they do that, and I think God goes, that's what I made you to be. So that would be my advice.